Agit Neder Shabbos Kodesh, it's Friday, Pashas Chikas Bulak Yidal of Tamas Tuvshim Paivuv, June 26, 2026. My name is Gershy Schwarcz and I'm your host with the news of the last 24 hours on Edge.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
So the world is shaking, planes are crashing into buildings. Venezuela got hit with the worst earthquakes in decades, or in a century, killing close to 600 people and injuring close to 3,000, now 4,000. In Britain, Keir Starmer is officially out, but he still thinks he's in. Trump is talking about the great country, and he means Iran. Rubio cannot seem to say it out loud when asked if he agrees with J.D. Vance on the MOU Iran deal. For years, Trump called Obama's Iran deal the worst disaster deal ever made, and now he's got his own version of it. The only difference is, well, whose name is on it? The whole world is angry he's letting Iran make so much money out of this deal in exchange for nothing, really, because so far the only one winning this is clearly Iran. And us? What did we get from this? A guarantee that inspectors say they know exactly where Iran's nuclear is. Yet at the very same breath, they admit and ask Iran won't tell them where the nuclear is. Contradiction, isn't it? And to say thank you, Iran goes ahead and starts bombing and throwing drones at cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz. And obviously Trump reacted, saying, and Iran again broke the ceasefire. Now what? And as if the world hasn't suffered enough. Earthquakes, plane crashes, wars. There's another war we keep on forgetting about. Russia-Ukraine, where thousands are dying every single day. It almost feels like a sad poem I keep on repeating with the same words, same rhythm, same rhyme. The hardliners today want Putin to stop talking and start bombing because Ukraine took it to the next level. They started bombing key targets inside, deep inside of Russia. Hit hard at home. Some even want and whisper nuclear to Putin, but Putin hasn't reacted so far. In America, a major legal shift. The US Supreme Court just cleared the way for President Trump's government to deport hundreds of thousands of migrants. And finally, a green breakthrough. The UK company has found a way to turn dirty wastewater into clean fuel. And vitamin D3 can be a cure or help the worst of the worst cancers in the brain. This and way more here on Edge. But before we do that, let me thank my sponsors of today. We have Halo, high-functioning water. 2, we will talk about them soon. Halo 2, high-functioning water. Good for someone like myself right now when I'm very thirsty. It's in the summer, you need to hydrate. And we have kosher skinny shot and as well, my home finish. You know, when it comes to shades and blinds, everyone thinks that, oh yeah, you can buy it on Amazon, but really the truth is, after 3 months, 4 months, you complain. It tears, the quality. You have to trust when it comes to making blinds and shades and curtains, there's companies that know what they're doing, like My Home Finish. My Home Finish is a top leading brand in this industry. They are, and they can be, cheaper than 90% of their competitors because their quality is just outstanding. They are backed by thousands of happy clients in the tri-state area, upstate region, even in the country, and New York City or region, everywhere. You can call them today to book your shades, to get your shades done in your house, your development, your office on 845-372-6613. I can say it slower, so you write it down. 845-372-6613. Special offer, mention on Edge, and get 5 to 10% discount on your order. Or you can visit myhomefinish.com. Clients come back for the price, they come back for the service, but they never come back for the quality. At least, because the quality is that long-lasting. Anyway, at least 589 people are now dead in Venezuela after 2 powerful earthquakes struck on Wednesday. The earthquakes, which were magnitude 7.2 and then later, 45 seconds later, 7.5, were the strongest to hit the country in more than 100 years. Emergency crews are still recusing hundreds of people trapped under collapsed buildings. More than 4,300 people are injured, and over 41,000 people are still missing. They say now 50. Interior Minister said of Venezuela said that more than 100 buildings have collapsed. I think more than 250, according to some reports, and at least 70,000 families have been affected, he says. The worst damage in Caracas, the beach of the city, which is called La Guaira and Moron. This is where the earthquake struck. Rescue teams, think about 200 more people are still trapped under buildings, under rubble. Residents say there is very little official help from the actual Venezuelan government, and they say that they're carrying survivors away on stretchers on their own. Thankfully, a massive global rescue effort is underway. Trump promised $150 million in emergency aid to them. He also said that U.S. Navy warships, he also sent U.S. Navy warships to the area, including the transport ship USS Fort Lauderdale. U.S. Marine Corps and Major General Kevin J. Gerard arrived to Caracas today to manage the relief effort. Other countries and organizations have also sent relief goods like from El Salvador, and rescue teams. This includes the United States, the United Nations, Red Cross, and the Vatican. El Salvador, like I said, Mexico, India, Germany, Colombia, Ecuador, Panama, France, Spain, and Italy. And of course, Israel. Israel is sending real help. Zaka's international team and the relief group, that is a very experienced group already, Gr8, are sending rescue crews, and Israel's foreign ministry is preparing an aid delegation. Iran, on the other hand, said yesterday that they are ready to help. It sent condolences so far, but so far the actual team or supplies, well, nothing was seen. Iran was a close ally of the old Maduro government. Well, he's sitting in jail right now. Even Elon Musk announced that Starlink will now provide free satellite internet to the affected disaster zones. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has attacked a Singapore-flagged cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz. This ship is called Ever Lovely, and it was struck even though it was sailing through the Oman's approved water route. The United Kingdom Marine Trade Operations, the UKMTO, that said that this ship bridge was damaged and the sailors were not hurt. The strike came only hours after Iran threatened the international shipping community, as you heard yesterday on the news. It warned that any ship passing through the Strait of Hormuz without Iranian permission would face severe consequences, like you heard yesterday on the radio, right? Whoever listened to On Edge. But the Ever Lovely's crew said that they did not receive any warning. Now, if you're an On Edge listener and you haven't yet told your friends, please do. And you should subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and hit that bell button down there as well. So when you're here and you want to know, when you want to basically wake up to know that there's another news podcast from On Edge, a news segment, then, because since I'm not a live newscast, it goes up every single day, you kind of have to be notified. So hit that notify button, hit the subscribe button, and share it with your friends, and leave a comment in the description below if you love the news, and if you don't, you can also comment. Now, according to the New York Times, Oman also allowed the ship and several others to pass through their own waters. Now, Iran is extremely angry with Oman for allowing ships to take another route without their approval. That's a very big contradiction to what I said yesterday that Rubio said. Obviously, this attack means one thing. The ceasefire between the US and Iran is on shaky grounds. Again, upon hearing the news, the United Nations temporarily stopped recusing more than 11,000 stranded sailors in the region. The US also started direct talks with Iran's Revolutionary Guard in Qatar. They arranged this meeting to keep their soldiers from accidentally fighting each other, especially in the Strait. Vice President Vance announced that this effort is a part of what is called a special deconfliction cell, which will be a direct communication method between the two countries. Vance explained this arrangement, and he said that they were like, okay, fine, we'll send somebody from the IRGC to hang out in the Doha area with somebody from CENTCOM, and that's how we're going to settle a lot of these disputes. This is what J.D. Vance says. Talks also happened between the US and the Gulf Cooperation Council. They issued a joint statement yesterday from Bahrain, in which they demanded that the Strait of Hormuz be opened with no tolls and no Iranian control. Okay, it helps, right? The statements help a lot. They also want conditional and reversible rules before the US removes its financial punishment sanctions on Iran, which, doesn't look like it's happening. Not only that, they want to get rid of Iran's nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, drones, and the financial support for armed terror groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, and others alike in the Iraq region. The GCC officials, the Gulf region officials, warned that they will cut off all economic ties with Iran if Tehran violates the deal. But Iran's foreign ministry rejected the statement and said that America's military presence in the Gulf is a source of regional insecurity and division. Iran insisted that the Strait of Hormuz sits within Iranian and Omani territorial waters. Because of this, they will be managed by them under the terms of the US-Iran agreement and not by other countries. Okay. Things are getting heated. But Trump is confident about America's power over Iran. He called Iran a new market and said that the US would be taking some of their money. He added, "We'll spend it and we're going to be buying wheat, soybeans and corn," he said. "A lot of it. And that process is going to be starting pretty soon."
And we have another one, a new market coming up, and that's called the lovely country of Iran.
Trump announced this even after Iran said no several times. In fact, Trump just keeps pushing the state of American, the sale of American crops, knowing that they control Iran's frozen money. The United Nations is also not taking Iran's no for an answer. They said that the IAEA nuclear agency will still send inspectors to Iran, whether they like it or not. The head of the agency, Rafael Grossi, says that the current deal already forces Iran to let international inspectors inside, but Iran claims its main nuclear sites will stay completely locked, and they say no inspectors are getting in until all sanctions are lifted and a final deal is signed. We'll see how this goes in a few weeks. Okay, let's transition on some hopeful news, and then we'll continue the rest of the news. Doctors are testing. Usually I leave it to the end, but I decided I want to go on today. Middle of the news, to lighten the matter a little bit. Doctors are testing whether a simple everyday vitamin can help fight one of the deadliest brain cancers. Vitamin B3. The same vitamin they put in breakfast cereal that you can buy in any pharmacy. In a trial at the University of Calgary, scientists gave a high dose of B3 to patients with a brain cancer called glioblastoma alongside their regular treatment. This vitamin seems to wake up the body's own immune cells, the ones the tumor had shut down, and helps them attack the cancer. The early results surprised everyone. Out of 24 patients, 82% showed no growth of the cancer after 6 months. For a brain cancer that has seen almost no progress in 20 years, that is remarkable. Something we had in our hands and didn't use it. The doctors are careful to say it is still early and the trial is ongoing. And one important warning: these are very high doses given by doctors only, so this is not something you can try on your own. The Strait of Hormuz isn't the only waterway that's highly beneficial. Obviously, I'm still gonna continue talking about this B3 vitamin because, yes, you can buy it in the pharmacy, but high dosage usually is not available in these little bottles that they sell. High dosage is very controlled, obviously. So the Strait of Hormuz isn't the only waterway that's highly beneficial for the world. Halo 2 is high-functioning water in a bottle that's very high and beneficial for you. Every bottle delivers ultra-clean, refreshing alkaline water with a powerful pH of 9+, designed to outsmart the summer heat. Think of it as a daily insurance policy for the immune system. It provides pure hydration that the heart, kidneys, and liver need to feel unstoppable. Zero fuss, absolutely purity. Grab your Halo 2 right now. Available in all your local groceries with a great Hersher, by the way. All right, Halo 2 high-functioning water. Let's continue the news. Peace talks between Israel and Lebanon have been extended for an extra day in Washington. Negotiators made some progress on the third day of talks, but they still have not reached a final agreement on when the Israeli military will withdraw. U.S. officials are pressuring both Jerusalem and Beirut to close the deal. The talk started with heavy tensions from both sides because the ceasefire also affects the entire U.S.-Iran deal. Even so, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made it very clear that the military will not leave its security zone in southern Lebanon. He told his soldiers, quote, "You have complete freedom of action to eliminate any threat to our soldiers or to the residents of the north." A threat to the soldiers of the north. Today, Israeli forces killed 6 members of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. First, they killed a single-armed terrorist at the Ali al-Tahrir ridge. Then the Air Force and ground troops spotted 5 terrorists near the Golani soldiers in the village of Zwatar al-Shraikiya, whatever the name is. I didn't pronounce it right. Anyway, that doesn't make a difference. The point in Lebanon, okay? So they opened fire. Military forces are aiming to trap around 30 more terrorists inside an underground tunnel network. To rebuild its forces in Lebanon, Tehran started a public recruitment drive to hire new fighters for Hezbollah. They offered lower-income youth $1,000 a month. This is to kill as much as possible any peacemaker or any Israeli soldier they find in their way. This is several times higher than the minimum wage in Iran. Where do they have the money from? Well, Marco Rubio was asked yesterday by reporters if he agrees with J.D. Vance's statement about the fact that Israel is basically ruining every single effort of a deal be done with Iran and America. And because they're fighting with Hezbollah still, that they are being very, very reckless. And they shouldn't be doing that. They should be careful. So, Marco Rubio answered saying, that is why we sent down CENTCOM. Remember yesterday I said that Admiral Brad Cooper's traveling to Israel to basically talk and see. Basically, now they have a clear and direct vision of every single violation made by the Hezbollah terrorists. So, next time the world sees a headline that Israelis killed 2 or 3 Palestinian terrorists or 2 or 3 Hezbollah terrorists, they won't be able to say, oh, they killed and they violated the rule. They'll be able to say, look, we saw exactly what happened. We are monitoring the situation, and like you said, today we saw that exact attack and what exactly was happening. We saw these Hezbollah soldiers coming out of a vehicle with guns blazing, and they were ready to attack. That is why the Air Force struck them where they were, and had to eliminate them so they shouldn't be able to advance and do and commit more terror crimes. Looking ahead after the war, France and Italy are forming a new group to support Lebanon once the UN peacekeeping order ends later this year. French President Emmanuel Macron and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni announced that the new group will work closely with the European Union, while Giorgia Meloni, back in Italy, just called for some sort of reform to the elections 2026. Walid Haniyeh, which is a nephew of Ismail Haniyeh, has been eliminated. He is the nephew of Ismail Haniyeh, the former head of the political bureau for Hamas. Walid was a Nukba operative in the Shati battalion of Hamas military wing. He was seriously wounded yesterday in an Israeli UAV drone strike in Nasser neighborhood of Gaza City. He died this morning from his injuries, obviously. Very large protests against Hamas are starting today along Gaza's yellow line. Now, this was organized by the Fatah group, which is using social media to organize the crowds. They are campaigning against Hamas because of the conditions in Gaza Strip and the postponed negotiations. Organizers say the demonstrations may last for more than a single day. And if they manage, they will probably be as severe as the Iranian ones. We don't know who has more control there, obviously. The Israeli military Southern Command is actively preparing for the protests, which they expect to turn violent. YS Capital Group doesn't expect your loan to cost you so much money. The answer is yes. You want to borrow some money? It's easy. 718-831-2168, and the answer is yes. YS Capital Group. All right, let's continue. In Yemen, the leader of the Houthi Islamic terrorist is threatening to launch strikes against Somaliland and East Africa. Abdul Malik al-Houthi warned that his forces will target any Israeli military presence in the territory. He urged other countries bordering the Red Sea to join together against Israel. This threat comes after reports that the Israeli military is establishing a presence in Somaliland after they acknowledged them officially. They want to build a base there. An Israeli military helicopter carrying President Isaac Herzog was forced to make an emergency landing yesterday. The Air Force helicopter hit a flock of birds while in flight. The president was traveling from a memorial ceremony at Mount Herzl in Yerushalayim to visit a shiva house in the northern Israel when the bird strike happened. Pilots managed to bring the helicopter down safely to the Palmachim air base. Officials say nobody was injured and the helicopter was not damaged. To reach the shiva house in time, the president boarded a different military helicopter. This time, the birds stayed away and Herzog reached the destination safe and sound. The Knesset legal advisor, Sagit Afik, is strongly criticizing how lawmakers are handling the proposed basic law for the Limud HaTorah. Afik sent an official letter warning that the proposed Torah study law was sent through the wrong committee. She warned members of the Knesset that bypassing the proper channels for Gzeirus Hagias could lead to the law being disqualified. Despite the legal warnings, the Knesset is planning to hold long debates next week to push this law through quickly. Lawmakers are rushing to have it approved before the parliament gets dissolved for the upcoming elections. More than 700 Rebbes from across the United States signed an open letter to New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Well, this is obviously a picture of the Shlichim, but whatever, it's a good picture for 700 Rebbes. Like, you need a picture of 700 Rebbes. This is the best they could do. Obviously, my dear employee, that's what they did. Okay, fine, it's a great one. It's a good one. I like the picture. Let's see it again. Okay, they're demanding he apologizes for calling the pro-Israeli group AIPAC monsters who use hidden money to keep power. The Rebbes warned that the mayor's speech about his Islam faith put American Yidden in direct danger. You heard yesterday the mayor, but the mayor published a separate message asking residents to mark the Muslim day of Ashura. He wrote about historical Muslim religious figures and asked New Yorkers to follow his values of fighting against injustice. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar is asking lawmakers to officially recognize the Armenian genocide. His proposal says that Israel has the moral and historical duty to recognize these events. He's talking about the grave violence committed by the Ottoman Empire during World War I. The Turkish government is strongly opposing this vote, obviously. Right now, 32 countries in the United Nations already recognize this genocide. That list includes the United States, Canada, Russia, and Germany. Russia? Interesting. The US Supreme Court approved two rulings against the deportation, that may allow the deportation, of hundreds of thousands of migrants in the U.S. The first ruling allows the Trump administration to end temporary protected status for Haitian and Syrian immigrants. On the other hand, the second gives federal agents the power to turn back asylum seekers or refugees before they even enter the U.S. The decision settles a major legal battle over metering, which is a border patrol system that forces asylum seekers to wait in Mexico when ports of entry are too crowded. Homeland Security General Counsel James Percival, or whatever his name is, said that this ruling proves that migrants are not legally in the U.S. until they physically cross the border. I think his name is Percival? Yeah, it's Percival. President Donald J. Trump has nominated Chris Klump to serve as the nation's next Deputy Health Secretary. Klump will work directly under Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He joins CDC Director nominee Gershy Schwarcz and Surgeon General pick Nicole Saphier as the latest administration's officials waiting for a Senate confirmation vote. Klump recently served as the Medicare Director and Chief Counselor for the Department of Health and Human Services. In that role, he led negotiations with pharmaceutical companies. He forced them to match American drug prices to lower costs in other developed countries. Announcing the pick on Truth Social, President Trump said, Chris is experienced in building a big business. Okay, Chris experience, this is his writing, so I have to really punctuate. I don't know who writes his posts, but if it's him, better learn punctuation a little better than this. So let's say it again. He writes, Chris's experience, building a big business gave him the toughness, like big caps, to drive desperately needed major reforms, including my historic, big caps, most favored nation, lower cap, drug pricing policy, big, all the first letters are big caps, to finally stop foreign free riding off the backs of the American people. Understood it? No. Take a taxi. Arrive express. 845-622-1111 or 845-254-1111. All right. Tensions are rising quickly between the United States and Cuba. President Donald Trump says that the communists are finally making their move, and he has been preparing for this for a long time. He wrote on Truth Social, "The communists are finally making their move. I've been waiting and preparing for this for a very long time." You heard me say this twice. It's easy to be a communist, and all you have to do is say, I'll give you everything. But that means you're taking it away from others that have earned it the hard way. Over thousands of years, that ideology has not worked once. The game is on. Everyone's watching. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel. I don't know if he meant Cuba. Maybe he meant, what's his name again? What's his guy's name? The mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, right, yeah. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel responded by saying, neither President Trump nor the United States government rules his nation. He said that Cuba is a sovereign country and will defend its rights to make its own choice. However, the Cuban leader admitted that maximum pressure from the United States has forced his government to act and make quick decisions. Diaz-Canel also rejected American financial aid, saying it means nothing compared to the U.S. economic blockade, which has cost them billions. He said the blockade from the U.S. cost Cuba more than $5 billion every single year. He compared that massive $5 billion cost to a small amount of American help, saying, and they have come with 100. An Iranian hacker was 100 million, An Iranian hacker was arrested in Montenegro after he facilitated a cyber attack costing $3.4 billion. The FBI and local police caught the 39-year-old man, who is wanted by the United States. Authorities say his cyber attacks were directly linked to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC. The hacker holds both Iranian and Turkish citizenship, but traveled to Europe. His case is being handled by the Southern District Court in New York. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has authorized a 40-day drone strike operation against Russia. The goal of the massive operation is to force Russia to end the war. As part of this plan, Ukraine just launched one of the heaviest drone attacks since the war began. Russian officials claim their military shot down 660 drones. However, Ukrainian long-range drones successfully hit the Novomoskovsk power plant in the Tula region, I think it's called. That plant is located 200 kilometers south of Moscow. The successful strike cut off power to an entire city of 122,000 people. Meanwhile, Russian officials declared a state of emergency in Crimea after waves of drone attacks hit that area. Thousands of cars were stuck in a massive traffic jam for hours as people tried to escape. In Moscow, the military is taking extreme steps to protect the city from the air. A military helicopter used cables to drop a Panzer air defense system directly onto the roof of Avenue 77. Avenue 77 is the tallest apartment building in the Chertanovo district. The ongoing war is also causing a severe fuel shortage inside of Russia. Officials have placed new limits on how much gas people are allowed to buy in Moscow. Airlines have declared emergencies, and drivers are waiting in lines that stretch kilometers at gas stations. Back in 2022, Russians recorded videos making fun of Europe for not having enough fuel. Now angry residents in Moscow are demanding answers from their government. One resident asked, "This is Moscow, not Crimea. What is going on?" A small aeroplane crashed directly into the tallest skyscraper in China's capital city of Beijing today. The crash happened at the CITIC Tower, which is CITIC Tower, a massive 109th-story building. People inside the building quickly evacuated and gathered on the streets as fire trucks, police cars, and ambulances rushed to the area. Photos of the plane's registration number show that it is a small Chinese-made sport plane. It is owned by a local company that offers pilot training and sightseeing flights. Flight tracking data posted online shows that the plane went far off from its normal flight path before hitting the building, though officials have not yet confirmed the details. The earthquakes in the world haven't stopped. Not just in Venezuela, might I say. 3 major earthquakes have also hit different areas across the Pacific Ocean since yesterday. We are talking about shaking, literal shaking. The first time a powerful 7.2 magnitude earthquake that hit northern Japan. The heavy shaking injured at least 10 people. It also stopped the fast bullet trains and forced several schools to close down because of damaged ceilings. The second was a strong 6.5 magnitude earthquake that struck the southern Philippines. Thankfully, that quake did not cause the tsunami, but still shook the region very, very hard. I'm not sure what happened to the buildings. Further south, Papua, New Guinea, I think it's called, New Guinea, somewhere south, was hit by a moderate 5.4 magnitude earthquake. Lots of earthquakes. That shaking happened near the town of Kokopo. Thankfully, this third quake did not cause any injuries or serious damage. Even though all 3 earthquakes happened around the same time, scientists say that they are completely unrelated. They hit on completely different sides of the ocean, thousands of miles apart from each other. Speaking of fuel and earthquakes, UK company Purifier Energy has developed a new source for clean fuel. The system turns carbon waste and turns it into clean green hydrogen and biomethanol. Now, these are cleaner, low-emission fuels that ships can use instead of regular fossil fuels. The company's designed this machine to fit right inside existing ports. This means that ports can make their own clean energy right now, their own clean fuel, right where the ships actually need it, instead of having to transport it from very far away. Purifier says that they will keep working with their partners to set up this technology at more ports across the United Kingdom and around the world. Protobite 347-354-1237. Your place to go for software designing and development of any website that you need. 347-354-1237. Check out their website on proto-vyte.com. My friends, have yourselves a wonderful Shabbos. We will see each other next week.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.